They called it the war to end all wars. They said that it would be over by Christmas. They said that at most a few thousand men would die. They were wrong. The Great War is what they called it, a grand adventure across sea to fight for king and country. In the fall of 1914, men from all over Canada joined up by the thousands. Fishermen from Newfoundland outports, farmers from the Great Prairie Sea, and loggers from the forests of British Columbia flocked to the nation's call. For the most part, they were ill-trained and equipped, but they had the heart of a true volunteer, and there is nothing stronger than that. Yes, they were brave and young and marched off proud and confident. But when the Great War was over in 1918, no one who fought in it would ever be the same again.
October 12th, 1914. Dear Sis, well, here I am, in France no less. What a great country. Remember when Gramps used to tell us stories of all his travels, the places I've been and the things I've done, blah, blah, blah. I thought he must have been lying. How beautiful the country was and how amazing Paris is. Well, I'm here to report that the old boy was right. I went to an open-air cafe the other day with some of the older boys. It was grand. We had cafe au lait and real Belgian chocolate. Wow. Tomorrow we're moving up to the front, and the boys are sure eager to get stuck in. Our officer told us yesterday that it would probably be over by Christmas, so it's good we're going to get some action before it's all over.
Dear Tommy, it was so wonderful to hear from you. Sounds like you're having the time of your life. Is it not strange to think that just a couple of months ago we were in Mrs. Simpson's classroom, and now here you are, a grown-up soldier boy, and all at 16. Oops, I should say 18. By the by, has anyone figured out just how old you really are? Mom's none too pleased. She worries terribly, so do keep your fool head down. Of course, Dad puts on a good show. He says that if you're old enough to take a choice, then you're old enough to take a man's chance. But I think he worries too, in his own way. But do be careful. The first casualty lists were posted down to the post office, and it breaks a body's heart to see the names of so many we know. Most of them just boys not much older than you, Tommy. So keep your head down, and as Gramps says, your powder dry.
Dear Sis, I'm very sorry I haven't written you lately. I hope all is well with you and the old folks. I guess it's clear that this thing won't be over by Christmas. Don't tell Mother, but I just hope to survive till then. Writing you, Sis, is so important to me. It helps me make sense of what's going on here. There's so much I don't understand. It seemed all so clear before. A fight for king and country, to stop the Huns' aggression. What's it all for? It's like I'm a man that is caught in the fog. Sometimes I can see very clearly where to go and what must be done. The rest of the time, I just hope to get home in one piece. The other day, we went over the top for the first time. I was scared, but excited, too. We'd show those dirty Germans a thing or two. The first time I faced the enemy when so many have gone before me. Now it was my turn. We all wait in the trench. It's funny the things you notice, waiting for something like that. Besides my heart beating, I could hear softly spoken prayers from somewhere down the line, and the smell of gun grease and cordite. A gentle rain began to fall, and the drops beaded on my bayonet like little diamonds. It seemed that all my senses were keen. In that one moment, I felt more alive than I ever have. I heard the voice of the officer, strong and confident, telling us to wait for the whistle and to walk in a steady pace towards the Huns' trench some 500 yards away. We had been told that the enemy had been blown to hell by artillery. It was supposed to be so easy. No machine guns, no grenades, nothing to stand in our way. All over before Christmas. An adventure to tell your kids years from today. Before I knew it, I heard the whistle, and over the top of the trench we rushed. It wasn't like he said he would be. We got 5 paces, and the entire world seemed to explode in noise and confusion. The Huns had been waiting too, and when we were in the open, they raked us with machine gun fire, mortars and grenades. All around me, men were dying. The men all clumped together and were cut down like some great sword sliced again and again. Someone yelled, "Charge!" and we all began to run towards the Hun. I tripped over someone and went down. And there beside me, sitting in the mud, was one of my best friends. He was a fella from St. John's, Sean. Sean was always one for the jokes. He seemed to go through life with a smile and just a funny story ready to be told. Anyway, he says to me, "Fancy seeing you here." I thought he was crazy, and I told him so. And he says that it's fine having a chat, but maybe we should get the hell out of here. So we get up and run for cover. We get a few more paces, and he runs into me, and down we go again. I'm about to tell the silly bugger to watch what he's doing when I look over at him, and his face is gone. So I slide on my belly and somehow find the cover of a shell hole. In a few minutes, the firing stops. This was the worst time, for all around me I heard cries of wounded, dying men. Some cried for their mothers, some prayed, some screamed, some just moaned. I tried to get out and help those poor souls, I swear to God I did, but every time I tried, the machine gun would rake my position. So there I stayed. And as the day drew to a close, there was fewer and fewer cries for help, until I was all alone in the middle of no man's land. I must have passed out, 'cause when I awoke, it was dark. Above me was a canopy of stars like I've never seen. I laid there in the mud and marveled at the beauty of God's universe. All I could see were the darkened rim of the shell hole and the brilliant sky beyond. Every now and then a shooting star would streak across the sky. Were those the souls of my friends making their journey? I don't know. I'd like to think there was some glorious reward for their bravery shown this day. Or was this just a far distant star dying and nothing more? As I was thinking of this, a flare went off overhead. For the first time, I examined my new home. The muddy water was about waist deep, and I was resting on the side of the bank. Only my feet were wet. The water had a gray-green coloring with a distinct and troubling red tinge. What drew my attention was kind of gory, but at the same time fascinating. Across the pit embedded in the bank was another soldier. Visible was his chest and face. Looked very much like a sculptor's unfinished work, the image trying to emerge from the clay. Who was he? Was he German, French, English, or one of our boys? How had he become lost? Would he be remembered? Would I? I knew at that moment that I was going to get back to our trench somehow. If not for my own sake, then for my new comrade. I'd find something to identify him and send a letter to his folks. Then, in a way, something good and pure would come from this day. April 22nd, 1915. Hello, little sis. I hope you and the old folks are fine and doing well. I don't know how, but not only have I survived 3 major fights with the Hun, but I have been promoted to the rank of corporal. I asked the sergeant if I had been promoted because everyone else from my original company was either dead, missing, or crazy. And he said, the way things are going, I could be general soon. We laughed, and he told me to stop asking stupid questions. I found out who that fellow was that I found in no man's land. Turns out that he was a German private, not too much older than me. I'll spare you the gory details, but I found a letter he had in one of his pockets. I cleaned it up, rewrote it, and gave it to the chaplain. He said he'd see that his parents would receive it. We found out they're using a strange new weapon, a choking gas that kills. My sergeant doesn't believe it, and I agree. I mean, how can yellow smoke kill you? Doesn't make sense. So, tonight we're going to find out. Wish me luck, sis. Your loving brother, Tommy. That day, the Germans introduced mustard gas on the Western Front for the first time, and Corporal Tommy Simpson and 30 men from his company died.
Dear Tommy, today we found out that you are gone. It's so strange. The postman delivered the letter in the same way he has done so many times before. There was nothing different, nothing new about that day, except the world changed when we opened the letter. At one moment, we were laughing and preparing for Christmas, and the next, I don't know. How can we just move on with our lives like nothing happened, like you never existed? Now you are a memory. Your life is a collection of letters and photos in an album. A smiling face from a black and white picture, and on the back, a carefully written description. 10th birthday. Christmas, 1910. Fishing with father. And as I grow and age, your picture will remain the same. I will always remember you as young, with the promise of the future spreading out before you. But you will not age, dear brother. You will not grow to manhood. I will not stand at your wedding or play with your children, or laugh at the shared memory of our youth. All that you were is a memory, and all that you would have been is gone. But I will remember you, dear brother. I will remember walking home hand in hand from the first day of school. I remember picking blackberries on a summer day. And I will remember afternoons lying in the grass arguing over clouds. But most of all, I will remember you, dear brother, for the rest of my days. Goodbye.
By the end of the Great War, over 8 million men on both sides died. They died of bullets and bombs, by disease, and by the sheer incompetence of the generals, who for the most part had no idea how to fight a war in the 20th century. The butcher's bill was paid over and over until, in the end, Germany simply ran out of men and the will to fight on. Everyone who fought in that damn war was never the same again. How could a man who only weeks before was a killer of men simply go home and work in a store or take up a normal life? For many, the memory of dead faces and bloated, decaying bodies never left them. To their dying day, they lived and relived those terrible days of the war to end all wars.